tonight on First at 9 this Friday the 19th of September 2025. Mammoth conviction. Colombo High Court trial at bar sentences Niraj Roshan to 15 years rigorous imprisonment over unlawful possession of an elephant. Kaduwala magistrate meanwhile orders CID to obtain a statement from former Minister Rohitha Begunawardena over an alleged financial fraud. Digital vision. Digitalization lauded as an industry to generate $15 billion by President Derana. Electrifying reforms. IMF highlights necessity of cost recovery and cost reflectiveness for a strong and transparent electricity sector. Fiscal targets. Budget 2026 to focus on developing infrastructure crucial for investments, asserts Deputy Minister of Economic Development.
Kalin baby soap rupial 90කට. Kalin baby podi හැමෝටමයි.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Adrisinghe joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world, brought to you by the only Sri Lankan media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now, in your top story tonight, the Colombo High Court trial at bar sentenced Niraj Roshan, alias Ali Roshan, to 15 years of rigorous imprisonment and imposed a fine of 20.6 million rupees. He was convicted of 2 charges filed separately under the Flora and Fauna Protection Ordinance and the Public Property Act pertaining to the unlawful possession of an elephant. The court also ordered the Director General of Wildlife Conservation to confiscate the elephant in question.
An indictment was filed by the Attorney General against 8 defendants, including Niraj Roshan, alias Ali Roshan, before the Colombo High Court trial at bar on 33 charges, including illegally possessing 5 elephants. However, the Colombo High Court acquitted 7 defendants, citing insufficient evidence and lapses in the case made by the prosecution. Nevertheless, presiding judge of the 3-member bench, Manjula Tilakaratne, stated that only the 27th and 28th indictments filed against Niraj Roshan had been proven beyond a reasonable doubt by the prosecution. According to the facts presented during the trial, elephant number 350, known as Singiti, was taken into custody while in the possession of the defendant. It was proven that the elephant had been illegally captured and was in the possession of the defendant without a permit. The prosecution classified this elephant as public property and valued it at 6.8 million rupees. Accordingly, the 27th indictment filed under the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance and the 28th indictment filed under the Public Property Act were proven by the prosecution. When the defense was permitted to make submissions on sentencing, President's Counsel Anuja Premaratne, appearing for the defendant, requested the court to impose a lenient sentence, citing the lengthy duration of the trial since the incident. However, the Deputy Solicitor General Janaka Bandara, appearing for the prosecution, requested that the court impose the maximum punishment against the defendant. Thereafter, Niraj Roshan was sentenced to 15 years of rigorous imprisonment and fined 20.6 million rupees. He was subsequently taken to the Valikada prison. The court also ordered the Director General of Wildlife Conservation to confiscate the elephant in question. In other legal updates, Kaduwala magistrate Aruna Indrajit Buddhadasa yesterday ordered the Criminal Investigation Department to record a statement from former Minister of Ports and Shipping Rohitha Begunawardena over a case involving an alleged fraud of 20 million rupees. The fraud is said to have taken place by promising the removal of granite from the Magampura port in Hambantota without calling for tenders. The case was taken up following a complaint filed with the CID by a resident of Hungama Batata South. The complainant alleges that in 2021, a man posing as a secretary to former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa took him to the Magampura port, showed him the impugned stock of granite, discussed prices and obtained an advance payment of 20 million rupees. Based on the complaint, the CID's Special Investigation Unit arrested a resident of Hokandara, Talangama, who was alleged to have posed as the then Prime Minister's secretary. He was produced in court and later released on bail. However, despite several years of investigation, statements had not been recorded from other individuals named in the complaint. Therefore, the Kaduwala magistrate ordered the CID to obtain a statement from former Minister Rohitha Begunawardena and submit a report to court within 2 weeks. Meanwhile, in another development, former State Minister Shashindra Rajapaksa, who faces charges under the Public Property Act, was further remanded until September 22nd by the Colombo Magistrates Court. The court is scheduled to pass an order on his bail application on the same date.
ඔයාගේ හීන ලන්තයට අපිත් එක්ක යන්න අදම සනස ලයිෆ් එක ඉන්ෂුවර් වෙන්න.
Now, President Anura Dissanayake says that digitalization should become the country's prime economic objective as it envisions the generation of $15 billion through digitalization exclusively. While addressing the opening ceremony of the National Cybersecurity Operations Center today, the President further adds that digitalization will contribute to enhancing efficiency and improving transparency of government operations.
A ceremony to declare open the National Cybersecurity Operations Center was held today at the Bandaranaike Memorial International Conference Hall under the patronage of President Anura Dissanayake. The National Cybersecurity Operations Center will provide 24-hour monitoring of 37 institutions managing critical digital infrastructure, including the Department of Immigration and Immigration, the Department of Motor Traffic and Department of Inland Revenue, in order to identify and respond to potential cyber attacks. The National Cyber Protection Strategy for the years 2025 to 2029 was formally presented to President Anura Kumara Dissanayake by the Deputy Minister of Digital Economy, Eranga Weeraratna.
Earlier, I was introduced as the man who guided this endeavor to success. However, that is not the case. On this subject, I am guided by you. I have very little knowledge in this field. Countries that rapidly adapt to these new developments in science and technology soar to the pinnacle of success. Nations that fail to modernize as such are pushed even farther away from success. That is our predicament at the moment. Dr. Hans Vijay Surya, who is a renowned scholar in this field, has volunteered to work with us. He has already made a lot of sacrifices. We wish to increase efficiency in government operations through digitalization. However, a deeper issue looms over us. That issue pertains to the transparency in government operations. We believe that digitalization will solve issues and concerns pertaining to purchases, offerings, recruitments, and policy making of the government. Digitalization of the state or public sector as a whole should be our foremost economic target. This industry alone can yield us $15 billion. These inputs will enable us to achieve that target. We must envision these inputs being utilized efficiently to make positive economic impacts.
Meanwhile, the President also attended the Industry Expo 2025 exhibition held at the Bandaranaike Memorial International Conference Hall this evening.
With Sri Lanka's ongoing electricity sector reforms highlighting the urgent need to align financial viability, sustainability and consumer protection, a discussion on tariff methodology was held recently with the participation of Sri Lankan policymakers and IMF staff. At the discussion, experts underscored that both cost recovery and cost reflectiveness are vital principles for a strong and transparent electricity sector.
A discussion between Sri Lankan policymakers and International Monetary Fund staff was held in line with the IMF Extended Fund Facility Program to review Sri Lanka's electricity tariff methodology. The country's renewable energy target of 70% by 2030 was a focal point of discussions, with experts emphasizing the importance of expanding solar, hydro and wind energy coupled with investments in storage to achieve it. At the discussions, thermal power was described as an expensive and highly volatile source, while renewables were recognized as an increasingly competitive source requiring upfront investment. It was also cautioned during the discussions that the volatility of generation costs poses risk to both financial stability and consumers. MPs present highlighted the importance of safeguarding vulnerable households through targeted subsidies and protecting CEB workers affected by restructuring. The discussion was held at the Parliament premises with the participation of opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, Chairman of the Committee on Public Finance Dr. Harshad De Silva, Chairman of the Committee on Public Accounts Kabir Hashim, other members of parliamentary committees and officials representing the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Finance, the Ceylon Electricity Board and the Public Utilities Commission.
Now, on the topic of electricity sector reforms, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa accuses trade union leaders of abandoning their principles for personal gain. Speaking at a public meeting in Mihintale today, Premadasa claims that some union leaders who once fiercely defended electricity sector workers before the current government came to power are now willing to go to great lengths, even at the risk of their lives, to protect the very administration they once opposed.
A public meeting was held today in Mihintale under the patronage of opposition leader Sajith Premadasa as part of the opposition leaders' village-to-village, door-to-door mobile service program.
The current government came to power claiming it would protect public sector employees. Government officials believed in those promises and turned out in large numbers to vote for them. But what is the reality today? As of now, 23,000 employees of the Ceylon Electricity Board face the risk of losing their jobs. Authorities say that those who wish to retire may do so voluntarily, but beyond that, they refuse to entertain any discussion about the benefits these employees rightfully deserve. What about trade unions that once took to the streets in support of these workers? What are those union leaders saying today? They claim that they cannot take responsibility for the situation. They say that they are even ready to commit murder to protect the same government. Not long ago, these same voices claimed that they were prepared to sacrifice their lives to safeguard the jobs of the 23,000 employees. Today, that willingness to sacrifice is no longer for the people, but for a government that came to power through lies. I urge the people to stand firm and to stand together to put an end to this. Deputy Minister of Economic Development Professor Anil Jayanta asserts that the government aims to develop infrastructure necessary to attract investment to Sri Lanka through Budget 2026. Deputy Minister Jayanta went on to note that the government also intends to lay the legislative groundwork for a robust investor protection mechanism. We mentioned that we aim to transform society by strengthening the economy, thereby paving the way for people to earn a good income. Budget 2026 is a continuation of that vision. The challenge we faced in 2025 was stabilization, and we have achieved it. Our vision is to attract investors based on the stability achieved and reap benefits for the economy. We have limited funds at our disposal. While we have achieved stability, our economy is yet to grow substantially. Our main target for Budget 2026 is to utilize the limited funds to develop infrastructure to attract investment. We aim to develop required road networks, reservoirs, canals, airports, ports, economic centers, a systematic transport system, and a good communication network. The world moves forward with technology. We have initiated programs to bolster technological development. We are implementing these programs gradually. Accordingly, the government's capital expenditure will target these areas. The government thereby offers support to attract investment to the private sector. The private sector can direct these investments to the agricultural and tourism sectors and also develop local small to medium scale enterprises and export-oriented businesses. The government will provide necessary infrastructure and support. The budget aims to lay the groundwork for development. Laying said groundwork will establish a favorable environment to attract investment and also ensure investor protection. We hope to pass the relevant legislation soon. Now, Minister of Transport, Highways, Ports and Civil Aviation Bimal Ratnayaka highlights that the government will not misuse land issues in the north for political gain. He made this comment during the Jaffna District Development Committee meeting with regard to the return of land acquired from the public in Jaffna over security concerns.
The Jaffna District Development Committee convened at the Jaffna District Secretariat yesterday. Matters pertaining to the Ministry of Transport, Highways, Ports and Civil Aviation were discussed at the meeting yesterday.
මාස 10ක කාලය තුල අක්කර කුපොමනක් ජනතාවගේ ජනාවාස ඉඩම් නිදහස් කරලා තිබෙනවා. බලිගාම උතුර තමයි ආන්නේ.
That matter does not fall under the purview of my ministry. Please reserve another opportunity to share your thoughts in this regard. Please listen. No, we have looked into it. We just haven't organized events to announce it. By this morning, MP Sumantiran had already given voice cuts. This government which releases land is not interested in advertising its decisions.
No, I mean, you have to listen to me.
We will not use these land disputes to further political agendas. The Vasavilan Road, which was closed for 37 years, was declared open. However, did we hold celebrations? Did politicians visit the opening? Recently, command officers handed over 4 deeds to the district secretary. They were not handed over to a minister. We understand the political angle of this issue. Land owned by the people was acquired over security concerns prevailing at the time. The president gave directives to return acquired land if the security concerns have ceased to exist. There is no need to hold events to do that. Even though we did not organize events to hand over land to the public, certain individuals went around taking credit for it. Majority of the voters in Jaffna cast their ballots in favor of the NPP. Therefore, we are bound by a higher responsibility than you are. We are working towards fulfilling that responsibility. You are aware that there is a proper and fair protocol to resolve these issues. Minister, please know that I can raise my voice further. Don't let me go there. Please listen to what I have to say. Kindly listen. I gave you the opportunity to leverage this moment for fame. I believe Minister Sridharan received the necessary publicity that he expected. There is a way according to which the government and the president function. We promised 5 billion rupees for road construction and we are currently disbursing funds close to 7.5 billion rupees. A majority of those funds have been set aside for road development in Jaffna. Considering the past 25 years, government involvement in matters related to Jaffna are at its peak. Against this backdrop, you accuse us of withholding land. Why do we need to keep land? We have obtained opinions from Minister Sridharan and also from the relevant chairman and secretary. However, there is a scientific way to implement solutions. DDC or EIA decisions are not the way forward as you propose.
DDC තීන්දුව වලින් EIA තීන්දුව අරන් යන්න බෑ.
Leader of Sarvana Balaya, parliamentarian Dilith Jayavira asserts that remaining true to Sri Lanka's cultural identity while embracing entrepreneurship will result in rapid progress towards development. Addressing a gathering in Colombo today, the parliamentarian further underscores the importance of valuing the country's cultural heritage, potential and creativity.
The certificate awarding ceremony of the first batch of students who undertook the diploma course offered by the Ceylon Career Guidance Association in collaboration with the Industrial Education Campus was held at the BMICH this morning. Leader of Sarvajana Balaya, parliamentarian Dilith Jayavira, presided over the event as the chief guest.
මේ වෘත්තීය මාර්ගෝපදේශක සංකල්පය අත්‍යවශ්‍යයි රටක් ඉස්සරහට යන්නට.
The concept of career guidance is crucial for the country's future. I was introduced as an entrepreneur and that is my favorite word. We can see how far the word entrepreneur has come even in declarations of assets and liabilities. Now everybody in the country calls themselves an entrepreneur. That is a positive development. None of us like to call ourselves citizens of a bankrupt, poor or developing country. However, none of us have succeeded in undertaking a definite path to develop the country. We are a proud nation with our own traditional knowledge. However, we have not made proper use of that knowledge due to weakness in our attitudes. The weakness is that we have not recognized our potential and creativity. We can rapidly progress if we remain true to our cultural identity while embracing entrepreneurship. Those who embrace entrepreneurship will view the world differently. With that, let's take a closer look at the latest developments unfolding in the political arena. I recently saw various remarks being made over my asset declaration. Remarks were made on my 2.2 million rupee bank balance. Some also commented on a plot of land I own valued at 2.4 million rupees. I have with me here an analysis of how I generated this wealth. At a ceremony held in honor of my daughter, many members of the general public bestowed cash gifts, which I have noted down on this notebook. This analysis depicts how I came across the hundreds of thousands of rupees I declared. Therefore, I merely deposited my daughter's money at the bank. I still have all the envelopes with me. Furthermore, I was never impoverished. Before I joined politics after graduating university, I was a teacher in the public service. I purchased the 10 perch land in question during my service as a teacher. The fact of the matter is this. JVP leaders on previous occasions claimed that most of their goods and services were paid off on their behalf by fellow comrades. The talk of the town today is how the JVP deceived the country by swindling the humble common man. While we serve to protect all comrades of our party, we will never be a burden to any such comrade during our political journey. We never claimed hefty compensation packages by claiming to have suffered property damage during arson attacks. We asked those who donated to the incumbent government whether they still think their donations were money well spent. The asset declarations clearly show that all those in the government are from the bourgeois class. They might very well be the most elite. Some think that wealth falls out of the sky. That is not the case. Certain members of the NPP may have been born into families with generational wealth. Some may have generated that wealth themselves. This comes as a surprise only to those who generated wealth by dishonest means, since they too have to declare the ways through which they generated their wealth. We declared our own assets. We submitted our own asset declarations. Therefore, we have no concern in this regard. That is because we can be transparent on how we generated our wealth. Within the next 5 years, you might be able to see for yourselves if we generated wealth through political means. We have to submit statements to the CID regarding our assets. I have been providing statements to the CID since 2019 and I have been given another day to provide a further statement. We have no problem since we were never dependent on third parties to sustain ourselves. They called us corrupt. However, take a look at what they say about how they generated their wealth. Many cite stories of how they rose from rags to riches. They spun various rumors when we said the same. Therefore, now it's our turn to dig a little into their stories. Maybe they thought that only the impoverished could engage in politics. Yes, some comrades in the government did say that they were funded by the general public. Even I am among them. I funded my election campaign through party proceeds. All of my expenses, including travel, are either borne by the party or by our donors. That is how it is. I could be a millionaire or a billionaire. However, I will never spend my personal wealth for political purposes. Those who claim that they will spend personal wealth for politics do so with the sole intention of generating wealth through politics. Whenever I was posed with this question, my answer has always been that I have certain assets with me. I have real estate and other property. I have had no problems on that front. All politicians are not thieves. I will not take on responsibility for remarks made by others on these concerns. Welcome back. Now here's a look at more local news across the island in brief.
The alleged shooter in the murder of political activist Dan Priyasad was arrested last night along with two others, including a woman. The arrests were made in Ranwala Kegal. The offences against the arrested suspects include illegal possession of drugs, drug trafficking and identity theft. The arrests were carried out by officers attached to the Kegal Division's Criminal Investigation Unit. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka police announced that a total of 736 suspects were arrested yesterday during island-wide operations conducted to prevent crime and to curb the proliferation of narcotics. According to the police, 28,705 individuals were subject to inspection during the course of these operations. In addition, 50 motorists were arrested for drunk driving, while 20 others were taken into custody for reckless driving. In a tragic development, a 32-year-old woman from Ududumbara committed suicide by consuming poison after administering poison to her 3 children as well. The incident had occurred just 2 days after the death of her 34-year-old husband who had succumbed to thalassemia. The children who were poisoned are currently receiving treatment at the Ududumbara Divisional Hospital.
A landslide warnings are now in effect for several areas across 5 districts due to ongoing heavy rainfall. The National Building Research Organisation issued a level 1 yellow warning from 10 a.m. this morning, valid until 10 a.m. tomorrow. Affected districts include Colombo, Kalathura, Kegal, Nuwara and Ratnapura. Meanwhile, the Department of Meteorology states that the intermittent showers are expected in the western, Sabaragamu, central, northern and northwestern provinces, as well as in Galle and Matra districts. Some areas may experience fairly heavy rainfall exceeding 50 millimeters. Showers or thunder showers are also likely in Uva, Ampara and Batiklo with strong winds of 30 to 40 kilometers per hour expected in several regions. The public is urged to take precautions against strong winds and lightning during thunderstorms. Welcome back. Now, the Colombo Stock Exchange closed in positive territory today as a result of price gains in counters such as Cargill's, Access Engineering and Hemas Holdings. The benchmark all-share price index gained 119.83 points to close at 21,085.09, while the more liquid S&P Sri Lanka 20 gained 24.86 points to end the day at 5,996.16. Market turnover was 6.5 billion rupees. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.